Hey, I'm Mewd, and you're going to watch me play Rocket Knight Adventures on the Sega Genesis. I don't know why you're going to do that, but you're here, and I'm here. So I think the only rational thing for either of us to do is to stay calm and to get on with it. Alright. So this game came out in 1993, and I was about 6 years old at the time. And I thought it was the coolest thing imaginable. Now, I would crack that up primarily to the fact that this main character here, Sparkster, he has blue armor and a sword. He was a product of this era of video gaming where there was a deluge of animal mascot platformers, thanks in large part to Sonic the Hedgehog. He's one of the more successful ones, in my opinion. So before I get started here, there's a few things I want to go over, like with Sparkster's kit here. He's got a little charge up meter here, and when that's full, I can use that to rocket around, so that's why it's a Rocket Knight Adventure. Otherwise, if I am not pushing any direction when it's charged up, I can do a little spinning attack here. And I've also got a little sword strike, which has a little aura key blasts, sort of like the Legend of Zelda with the Master Sword. Also, you may note in the background there's something going on with that castle. So we're dealing with, a pig situation here. There's an evil empire as opposed to the kingdom. Empires, as a rule, are generally evil, whereas kingdoms are good. That's just kind of how it is. This game's got a little steampunk aesthetic going on. The level of technology is going to get a little weird, a little anachronistic, but we'll get into that later. This game is one of my favorites. It's one that I feel like, in terms of like the Sega Genesis has a lot of games that I feel haven't aged very well. This one is, I think, just the best game on the system. I think it beats Sonic. I think it's even arguably better than a lot of the Treasure games, but by and large, I think that if you get any game developed by Treasure Studios on the Sega Genesis, those tend to be really rock solid. Like Gunstar Heroes, Dynamite Headdy, those are all excellent. With Rocket Knight Adventures here, one of the things that I think is best about why this game feels good to play is how you can, when you do damage to enemies, how it connects. It has that little shink sound effect every time you attack an enemy, and you can also just kind of really just cut through enemies very, very quickly if you position yourself well, if you know what you're doing. A big reason for that is because your sword attack, it has its own hurt box, in addition to the little sword magic attack it has. This is a game that is primarily about placement, knowing where things are coming. Memorization is highly rewarded in this game. Although this is a Rocket Knight adventure, the rocketing around really isn't the core focus. This is a game that's about its set pieces. We're already fighting something entirely new. This isn't the boss of the stage. This is just a boss of many that we're going to have to deal with. Usually the bosses have multiple phases. Right now, well, the waterfall is cascading down here. We're falling. We're still having to just deal with this bouncing tank. Usually if you rocket into most things, you're going to do significantly more damage, momentum and all that. So it's usually very tempting to just, barrel into everything as much as you can. Here, we're just having a change up in gameplay. The game will occasionally switch to a vertical shoot 'em up here, not a horizontal. I'm sorry, forgive me for that. Horizontal shoot 'em up. It's very rudimentary. It's very simple. This is about. I'm not really a shoot 'em up guy, so this is about all I really personally want to deal with that. Now, this boss here. I think this could be a good demonstration of what I'm talking about with the sword strikes. Connecting on there, this boss, if you're only doing one little measly attack per run, it has a really, really gentle attack sound effect. But if you can land multiple by getting your sword hurt box on the boss, that just feels good. That has a really satisfying click to it. And now it's time for us to infiltrate the castle. Excellent. Superb. The friendly, nice possum people here are panicking. We seem to be on fire. This game has a story. The manual actually has a surprising amount of lore in it, but really the game kind of operates almost entirely in pantomime. And usually that's really all you need. Back in the day, like, I didn't get the manual. This is a game that I rented numerous times before I actually owned it. And really these days I can only really access the manual by like going to wikis. Not that Rocket Knight Adventures has an extensive wikia to reference. Some areas like this one will have incentives to ricochet around. Again, it's not really the core focus, but we can get ourselves some diamonds here, and that's going to give us score, which can in turn give us extra lives. Extra lives are very important in this game. In this one, basically, we only have a set number of continues, no save system. This is one of those games from back when you basically had to beat it in one sitting, assuming you're not playing on an emulator or like any kind of like platform with save states. There's not really any legal way to like play this game with save states. I don't think, to my knowledge, it's ever really been included in any kind of collection. He's so happy that he caught him off guard. And now he's dead. Wonderful. Curious thing outside. So, you know, in terms of like collectibles, Sparkster's got, there's going to be the diamonds, very important. Possums love diamonds, as you know, but there's also just fruit. You get the apples, you get the bananas, those are health recovery items. This is the stage 1 main boss, the final boss of this area. And I don't know, he's kind of a good demonstration. Like, if you know what to expect, you can really blitz through bosses very quickly. When you've got a game where you're doing it all in one sitting, knowing where everything is and how to kind of like ram through the bosses quickly is very important. Because if you get a game over, you have to start over from square one. That is something I kind of have mixed feelings about with like older games. Like, back in the day when games were all short and you got games very rarely, it was reasonable for them to need to pad them out by having you start all over. A lot of games these days, because there's so many games coming out and games seem to be so long, there's just so much media consumed in so little time. It's hard to really like spend that much intimate time with any given game. This game has little freeze frames, like when you complete a stage, your last frame will be the one that Sparkster lingers on, sort of like Super Mario World, and it's usually preferable to get a nice, cool frame on there at the end, just like, you know, like whipping your cape in Mario World, or, you know, whipping your whip in Castlevania. The guy in the purple armor there is Axel Gear. He's our primary rival. He's not the head bad guy, but he is one of the only recurring elements of this franchise. He's kidnapped Princess Sherry, and we're gonna have to do something about that. This is not a very progressive video game story, but this is also 1993. We just need to pummel this robot's big red glowing nose. Although it's very satisfying to rocket into enemies, sometimes it's just more effective just to mash the sword attack, depending. And having that discretion, knowing when to act properly, is how you can really just advance in this game, and in life in general. Sparkster, like a normal opossums, can hang out from upside down on tree limbs here. They had to kind of incorporate something in here in terms of him being a possum. A little bit more relevant than, say, Sonic the Hedgehog having nothing to do with actual hedgehogs. There were a lot of mascot platformers during this era. Stuff like Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel. There was another possum game, Awesome Possum. There were... I don't know. Like, I am a big fan of platformers. This is the only, like, this is, as far as I'm concerned, the best available in that little weird subgenre. So, I don't know. You can kind of tell here that Rocket Knight Adventures is all about the bosses. It's not really so much about exploring the stages as one set piece after another. And it makes it very similar to a lot of, like, the Treasure Studios games. Those ones are all about just a onslaught of boss fights and set pieces, and I love that. It's kind of like design philosophy that you kind of rewards you for just getting as far as you can, because it's going to have something weird or interesting up its sleeve the further in you get. I mean, usually for most games, they want to just have like an interesting, like, core gameplay loop. Sparkster tries to approach that by just having, like, you know, the shoot 'em up sections, having kind of auto-scrolling sections, but it's not that deep. I kind of feel like that a game like this isn't going to be very well remembered here in, like, say, a decade, or even just, like, now. This game certainly has its fans. But I think, like, you know, all five of us are, you know, very attached to something that is going to fade away eventually. As far as, like, I'm concerned, like, what I'm accomplishing by even Let's Playing this is, like, maybe some 12-year-old out there will go out of their way to try this when they otherwise might not have ever bothered. There's, like, for a lot of people, there's not much reason to replay a lot of obscure, weird stuff on obsolete consoles unless there's a certain amount of prestige to it. If you've got, like, something like Legend of Zelda or Mario or even Sonic the Hedgehog, there's enough, like, clout to that name that you're curious about, like, experiencing for yourself that story. I don't think that many people care about Rocket Knight Adventures as a franchise. The game did have 3 sequels. There was Sparkster on the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, which were both radically different games. And then there was a attempt to reboot the franchise called Rocket Knight, which actually did a lot more to advance the story. Most of the Rocket Knight franchise games just kind of either reboot or reinterpret the story. There wasn't a lot of forward momentum in this genre. I think that the original staff for this entry left the studio, probably went to work for Treasure. I don't know for a fact, but that's what I believe to be the case. I appreciate that this chicken lingers with you a while. We're fighting a train now. I just love hearing that little shink sound. I need to be careful. I'm about to die here. I've had a few attempts to play through this and having lots of technical difficulties. So what I'm intending to do is that if I run out of things to say, I'm just going to have to, you know, start reciting off Rocket Knight Adventures lore. That way, both of us are punished anytime I start screwing up. I love this boss theme. It's very dark, it's very foreboding, and it contrasts a lot with just how just goofy this game is. It's something that I really responded to as a kid. I really liked that this game was bright, cheerful, colorful, but also it was had just borderline enough just serious, or at least the appearance of seriousness, that a kid like me who's susceptible to this kind of game would get really into it, want to take it seriously, want to live out the fantasy of being a dude in blue armor with a sword. That is just phenomenal. That is the only thing I could ever hope to accomplish in my life, is to be a blue guy with a sword. I think that this, like, taste I have for goofy animal adventures is why I, like, enjoyed the Archie comics, the Archie Sonic comics from way back. That entire, like, series was just, like, furry animal, like, soap opera drama, and it ran forever, and, like, I liked that. I like that nonsense. I liked it was that sort of thing. Like, you can't really tell a story like that forever without it just getting really just bizarre and just, like, destroyed by its own continuity being progressively less accessible. But I still feel like that was the best thing they ever did with the Sonic franchise, just in terms of, like, telling a story. There we go. There we go. That's a very good freeze frame to land on. So I think that's going to be it for this first episode. Maybe I'll see you in the next one. I don't know if this is going to be a thing for me or not. But, you know, either I'll see you there, or you'll just not have the willpower to stop the autoplay from taking you to the next one. So, you know, either way, thanks for watching.